Welcome you all to Trek Wars. So we've been learning about the Federation fleets, we've been learning about Cardassian fleets, and we've learned of the Dominion fleets, and we've learned about the Klingon fleet recently. But what do we know about the Romulan Star Empire's fleets? And we want to learn about the Romulan Star Empire itself. So that's what we're going to get into. Prepare yourself. So some of the interesting things about the Romulan Star Empire, or its people, or maybe just the race itself, is that the Romulans themselves are an emotional people, the exact opposite of Vulcans. They're very aggressive, they're very confrontational, they get offended easily, they're overly emotional at times. And so this is a characteristic of the Romulan Star Empire, is that the Romulans themselves are a passionate people, and this passion runs deep. Now, one of the really interesting things about the Romulan Star Empire is the fact that they're technologically equals to Starfleet. Now, this is really surprising to me because we learn this from data when we know that the Federation is aware that the Romulan technology is equal to, if not greater than, the Federation in certain aspects. So they're equals by data's interpretation of the data, and so that means that the Romulan Star Empire is at equal foot or equal level of technological advancement as Starfleet itself. Now, this is an amazing accomplishment, seeing as that Starfleet is a collection of thousands of worlds working together. The Romulan Star Empire is not a collection of thousands of worlds, but it's one giant galactic senate, which is definitely involved in galactic affairs, but not in the same way that Starfleet is. And I want to kind of talk about that. So one of the really interesting things about the Romulan Empire is espionage. They are completely and utterly dedicated to using espionage to get what they want and to hold a galactic control. So the Romulan Star Empire is using its wealth, its power, and influence to affect galactic affairs. Now, one of the main reasons we know this is there are several races during Star Trek, Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine that these alien races are purchasing Romulan assassination devices. So we know that the Romulan Star Empire is selling weapons and arms to minor races, minor powers, and even individuals and assassins. So we know that the Romulan Star Empire is selling arms. So they are in the business of selling weapons. So they are arms dealers by every metric that you can look at. So besides the fact that the Romulan Star Empire is technologically advanced, they're willing to sell that technology, they're willing to do assassinations, they're willing to sell weapons to minor races, they're in the business of knowing things as well. So there is a part of the Romulan Star Empire which is referred to as the Tal Shiar. So the Tal Shiar is a secret group of spies and assassins that work for the Romulan Star Empire. So Romulans are well known for assassination or the fact that they will sell information. So to say that they're not involved in galactic affairs is completely wrong. Matter of fact, they have their hands in everything. So the Romulans are run by a Senate. So they have a sophisticated government system. And this government is devoted to the Romulan Empire. And they are willing to do anything and everything in order to progress Romulan rule. And when I say that, I mean they will assassinate, they will kill, they'll use economics, they'll use trade, they'll do just about anything for the Romulan Empire. It's very different than the Federation, who's trying to work out plans and negotiations for the best of everyone. The Romulans don't care about anybody but the Romulans themselves. They're willing to do just about anything in order to acquire one of their goals. Now, the main reason why I want to talk about this and explain this is my theory about the Romulan Empire having this giant military is misguided. So the Romulan Empire has a spy network that is basically everywhere. It's affected the Klingons, it's affected the Federation, it's affected minor races, so it's a galactic network. In order to sustain a galactic network, because remember, the Romulans and the Klingons and the Cardassians and the Ferengi all use money, it has got to be an enormous amount of money being spent on this network. So if you're spending all this money on this giant spy network, well, that means that the ships that you have and the fleets that you have are going to be not as big as what they could be, because rather than building a monstrous army, they've decided to build a modern army with a very powerful spy network behind it. Now, with that being said, my idea of a fantastically large Romulan army just disappeared. So the situation the Romulans would be on a galactic map is the fact that a huge portion of the border is on Federation territory. Now, the Romulan Star Empire is about half the size of the Federation and pretty similar in size to the Klingon Empire. Now, the Klingon Empire border is pretty large as well, but it's not as large as the Federation border. So we have two major borders that we are going to have to be watching at all times from two galactic powers. Alright, so let's talk about the galactic market. So we know the Romulans sell weapons, right? We're perfectly aware of this. Now, what they don't do, like the Klingons do, is sell their ships. Romulan technology is state of the art. They don't share it, they don't sell it, and they don't give it away. It is for the Romulan military only. They will not, under any circumstances, trade technology like they used to with the Klingon Empire in the past. They do not do that. With the falling out what they had with the Klingon Empire, which led to absolute bloodshed and continues to this day, they do not do it. They are very cautious of other races. They don't want to share their technology. They want to keep it to themselves. With that being said, they are extremely devoted to the Romulan Empire. Romulan officers are just as devoted to the Romulan Empire as the Klingons are to the Klingon Empire. So much so that in order to not allow Federation to have any of their technology, even a scout ship, they were willing to blow it up. And not to give secrets away that unnecessarily, they are willing to take their own lives if necessary. Now, a prime example of this devotion is during TNG, there was an episode where they were going to have the Romulans and Vulcan were going to come back together. Spock had put this plan together, and they were going to bring people from Romulus to Vulcan and try to mend the broken history between the two races. This was a setup by the Romulan Empire. Those ships actually had Marines on there. The Federation found out about this. Captain Picard let everyone know, and rather than allow them to be arrested, the Romulans decided to destroy
the entire Marine fleet so that no witnesses would be present. This is the extreme levels that the Romulans are willing to do in order to protect themselves and their secrets.
So when I present the video with the Romulan ships, one of the things that stood out to me is my preconceptions about the Romulan Star Empire were wrong. I had this idea that they used nothing but literally large, giant starships, and this is not accurate. I also had this idea that they had this enormously huge, large fleet, which was not correct either. This is a small, modern fleet. It was one of the things that I found out, and one of the other things is that the Romulans do use an unusual amount of cruisers. They have very little large capital class ships at all, and they don't really have very many small ships. They have a large supply of cruisers, which was very surprising to me. Now, there was about 3 different resources, and each resource needed me to convert them into our formulas that we use with our Romulan ships that we already know are canonized and what they do on canon. So I merely converted those formulas and then added them to what we see with the VASA game and some of the other games and some of the other data tables in order to make a more modern look at the Romulan Star Empire during the Dominion War, because they obviously have more than just one ship design. They're not fighting everything with just warbirds. This is not feasible. And so we'll kind of talk about that. So we do know that the Romulan warbird is the warship of choice, and there's reasons for that. And we'll kind of discuss a little bit about that during the video once it gets done. But I wanted you guys to have an understanding of the Romulan Empire and some of its weird characteristics and why they do the things they do, so they'll make a little bit more sense when you hear about what the Romulan ships are, what they're capable, and what they're doing. So remember, the Romulan Empire is a smaller fleet of state-of-the-art starships. Now, the ships they're choosing to use are mostly cruisers. And that is obviously a choice because I believe, in my opinion, and we'll have to see what you guys think about this, is probably because of the budgetary restraints of the Romulan Star Empire because of its huge, massive infrastructure of its spy network. It's got to be enormously expensive, take a lot of resources to keep that going, and that depletes its resources from its actual full military. But in order to compensate for this, they built these huge, monstrous, scary ships to project power. So I'm going to show you just one ship that you guys have heard about, and I know everybody knows about. And that would be the giant version of the Romulan warbird. The one that I guess is first seen at the first encounter, where they talk about the size difference. So this ship is 1,200 meters long. Its mass would be estimated to be around 8,460,000. It was produced around the 2355s. Its crew is 1,531,000. Now, same weaponry as the previous warbird, 3,105,000. Its shields are 1,560,000. Now, its hull is different than the warbird that me and you know. It's going to be 4,290,000. Gives a full-on defense of 8,460,000. Now, I don't consider this a battleship. The V-70 Diderotix warbird that is I believe the prototype of the warbird series would be, in my opinion, a dreadnought, because it is absolutely massive. If you compare the size of the standard warbird during the Dominion War and then this warbird, it's so large that the Galaxy class could fit in between its wings, which is insane. Now, it uses a quantum singularity device, which allows it to produce power at levels that other ships don't. So it's got 6 disruptors that are RMD-14s. These are the best disruptors that the Romulans have. They hit, each bolt is 175,500. That should not be putting that the way it looks right now, but oh well, maybe I'll fix it later. 18 shots, 3,159,000. Enormously crazy. Now, this ship does have the ability to use plasma torpedoes, I'm sure, but we see it using RP-18s, and I don't know what these abbreviations honestly stand for. I honestly don't know, and I didn't research it. So, standard torpedoes, 171. Their launcher is 6, not as good as a Federation launcher. It's quite a bit weaker. It's about half almost, and that would be our warbird. So, of all the races that I've done these analysis on, the fleet of the Romulan was the most surprising to me. Most of the other races I was pretty much expecting what I saw, and I got pretty much what I expected. The Romulan Star Empire, on the other hand, ships surprised me, and I think they might surprise you too. Thank you for watching Trek Wars. If you like this material, please subscribe and make a comment. And with that being said, victory is life.